So many of you don't know that once upon a time South Africa was number 5 in the world for registering patents. We were one of the last for commercializing them because we just sold those patents. One of the early inventions was a radar, and most people don't know that radar is a South African invention. I'm an engineer, electrical engineer, I know that. And it was during the war, and it was done in a place called Port Elizabeth. And in fact, the original radar is still there, and it's under the custodian of the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers. And that led to, depends which side you're on the war, and depends whether you're a pacifist or whatever it is. The fact is, radar played quite an important role in winning the war. So it's quite serendipitous that the folks at Nelson Mandela University named this project radar. I don't think they knew that the radar was invented there, the original radar. The radar stands for radio detection and ranging, by the way. I'm not too sure what your radar stands for, but I will know pretty soon. Unfortunately for them, they've adopted the military term and they call it an early warning system. I looked at that and I said, I have to make a snide comment about that because this is Theophilus and we're getting away from militaristic terms of an early warning system, you're going to fail. So, or you better know that your student going to fail. I think they're going to clarify that as we go along. So it's my pleasure to invite all of them. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves very quickly, and then you can kick off. So, your mics are on. So.
All right. My name is Pillay, and I'm in institutional planning.
My name is Chuma Madyosi. I'm from ICT Services.
My name is Lwanga, and I put the student in student dashboard.
Curwyn, Mapaling, Academic Advisor for the School of Engineering.
Kim Herter, Academic Advisor for the Faculty of Law. Dalray, Gradidge from Student Counselling. Marian Neale Schutte from the Office for Institutional Planning.
Sheppard, Director Management Information.
So thank you. I'm going to sit down so I can watch the presentation. But what I can tell you is come 30 minutes, I'm going to time you out. So if you can manage the time in between yourselves, I'll really appreciate that. Otherwise, I'm going to take time coming up and down. It's just not going to work, right?
So our 30 minutes starts now. So thank you very much. Good afternoon. So the title of our presentation, which serves in essence as an update from our university, is the piloting of an early warning system and the student academic support intervention at our university. And we did know that the radar was invented in PE. So the outline of the presentation, you can see we have a number of people seated in front of you to give you an integrated response to an update of where the system is and where the different facets lie in the university towards the contribution ultimately to the success of an early warning system such as radar. Each of the colleagues have already introduced themselves and from the different areas of work that they operate from. So if we look at the radar system is essentially part of the broader Theophilus project and in effect serves as the bonus project of our institution. And the goals of this particular project are fourfold. Essentially, the first one is a comprehensive set of student success indicators and data in order to identify, monitor, and evaluate the methods for those particular indicators. It's an electronic early warning, tracking, and monitoring system to monitor student progress, both from the student's perspective and from support staff and from lecturers' perspective. Some of the colleagues will talk to that in a moment. The third, the capacity to generate and the use of data analytics, hence it's a Theophilus project, towards student success. And then fourthly, the improvement of student success initiatives, but more importantly, the primary goal for us as an institution, for all institutions, is to see the student cross the stage and move into the world and make it a better place. So we focus quite sharply now in terms of radar and it as an early warning system. Now, radar historically was a teaching development innovation project, the TDIF as it's referred, and it was housed in the Faculty of Law. That's why part of the pilot began in the Faculty of Law as they then came up with this particular early warning system. Lengthy discussions realized then that this project would be effective for all the 7 faculties of the university, hence it then being subsumed into the larger Siyaphumelela project. Radar aims to be an easy-to-use tool for lecturers for the early identification of students in the need of additional support. It has dashboard interface for both the student and the staff member, and then the head of department and director of school. So it's tiered in its design in terms of what type of access that particular individual then needs to have to either make one-on-one decisions or to make decisions that are far more holistic. Lecturers can email students, so it's another form of communication, but in a way more pointed in terms of these are the interventions that we suggest that you attend in order to improve, in order to holistically begin to understand what it is we are trying to achieve. The primary goal of radar, now I must look for my page because I said we must sit and not stand, and now I can't read the screen in front of me. My eyes are old, not my body. So the goal, as we move swiftly, the goal is the rollout of the early warning tracking and monitoring system called radar. It began in the Faculty of Law, and thereafter, the pilot then also moved to the School of Engineering, with a referral to interventions component effectively linked to radar and supported by academic advising. So some of the bonus project activities, and again I need to find the page, which is right in front of me. The first one, in terms of the bonus project activities, is a complete rollout of radar and its enhancements. It's gone through a few versions. Our ICT colleagues are here as well, and some in the room as well, focusing on first-year students and the lecturer to use the system to its maximum. The development and rollout of and monitoring of a student dashboard. We speak of students being tech-savvy, but it's how you package that tech-savvy data that makes them feel that they're in control of their own data. Providing academic advising capacity, and this is under the mentorship of the Center for Teaching, Learning and Media. The development of an academic advising database, and linking radar to student counseling, and our colleague Dalray will talk a little bit more about the LEC. And then the fifth activity is researching possible predictors of student success in support of the development of more predictive capabilities, and in particular, radar's capability.
With an increased use of the radar system, an approach of continuous improvement needed to be adopted. As new requirements became evident, ways in which to incorporate them into the system have been assessed and actioned if deemed possible. During the 2018 academic year, with aims to accelerate and improve student success, enhancements were done to the radar systems. These include an advanced emailing functionality, adding off-bulk students to a particular cohort to enable tracking at a later stage. Additional KPIs were developed and added to the system. More reporting mechanism to assist lecturers and academic advisors, and an entirely new development of the student dashboard. So what is this new student dashboard? It is a web-based application that is an integration of already existing ICT tools put together to formulate meaning and information geared towards student success, coupled with university initiatives and, most importantly, collaborated ideas from students themselves. With me today, I have Lawrence, who's going to speak more about the student dashboard.
Greetings once again. So I'm the end user on the student side, which means I got to test and be part of the development of the student radar. My personal sentiments is that I was personally surprised at first because it was a collaboration of the various aspects that make up a student life. So firstly, it gave us access to our marks and gave us an overview of our marks from first year through to whatever year we were in. And it also gave us an indication of where we were in relation to the rest of our cohort, which served as a motivating factor for you to be above the curve. Secondly, it also gave us the personal use aspect because it did not only link academic support in the form of allowing us to get contact to lecturers, it also gave us the psychosocial support. So we were able to access things like student counseling from this platform, which really did assist us in being able to have a more swift way of accessing help within the university. And I think the last thing that really did intrigue me about the platform was the learning enhancement checklist, which is like an introspective checklist that was able to give you questioning or help you reflect on multiple areas ranging from career choices and a reflection of your academic standing, as well as things such as your financial as well as other sectors. So it's a really savvy platform on behalf of students and allowed us to have a more holistic way of contributing data to bettering policy. Thanks.
Okay, so just a brief recap of 2018 for those of you that may or may not have been here last year. So one of the themes from our 2018 Theophilus presentation was the first line over there. So you can't solve a problem until you ask the right question. All-inclusive ownership is therefore key. So that we started out with that at the Theophilus conference, and we later presented it as a literature review study at the SAA conference. And from there we took it further. Also at Theophilus we had come with that sort of theme or idea or the question because we were wondering about a framework for all the peer collaborative work that is happening in engineering and the pre-existing work that is done with Ronald Plaikis. So we did a scoping literature review on the elements of a relational-centered framework, and that seemed to be the best framework for the type of work that was going on in engineering. Just beyond that, the points of connectivity or group interventions, as others might refer to them as in some research from last year. So the Meal a Day project, this is similar to what some have described in another session yesterday. So students are allocated an amount of money to their student card, and it's administrated through the School of Engineering along with the Meal Management Service and the CTLM. And from last year, 123 students were assisted, and to the total value of 101,302 Rand. This year, ongoing discussions are going on with other staff members in campus health and student counseling about how it can be more sustainable and integrated and a bit more centralized. The first year questionnaire, we were quite surprised to find that for the sample of BEng Tech students, the majority were accepted for their first choice of program at their first choice of university, and the minority were actually first generation students. And then just some totals on the individual and group tutoring, so 213 sessions, 172 attendance in total, and apart from our group mentoring, 46 sessions and 1,419 students in attendance. We also did the LEC, the Learning Enhancement Checklist, that a few others have mentioned already, and like they said, Dalray will speak about the checklist itself. But for the School of Engineering, last year a non-clinical sample of 380 students completed it, and we took the feedback from that into a 2019 pilot where we decided to pilot putting or embedding academic support into the curriculum. So I think someone else mentioned today or yesterday, for EXA, the Engineering Council of South Africa, for engineering students, it's pivotal that we can show how they achieve their graduate attributes. So EXA has 10 graduate attributes, and that was along with critical thinking, the focus of the academic support, and we embedded it into the compulsory first year professional communication computers module, which all the students do. And to get to the team, so last year reflection point was that an academic advisor needs a team, and this year we've had additional capacity. So we had a facilitator of learning communities, who was a student assistant, Jackie Pillay, and she was the sort of contract lecturer that did these sessions for critical thinking. We also had an academic advising support intern via the Dean's office, and he called himself the success coach. That was Yonela Mashalaba. There's also a partnership with student counseling and student wellness, where we've presented at Board of Faculty and Faculty Management Committee. The title is, "Do you see me as I really am?" The question coming from the students and being posed to the lecturers, as many have said, with the difficulties students are experiencing with mental health difficulties. And that will later be a conference presentation at Sakti. just the stats from beginning of the year until the 7th of June, you'll see that the majority have been mechanical engineering students, and currently the Meal a Day project, 72 students have been assisted to just under 70,000. Furthermore, with the increased capacity, we've been able to work outside of the school where the project initially started, and it's expanded to the whole Faculty of Engineering, and the School of the Built Environment being the second biggest sort of school where students are being referred from, and in other faculties, mostly business students. And then just in terms of our group session data, so you'll see that the majority of sessions have been from engineering, drawing, maths, and physics, which isn't surprising when you look at the engineering curriculum. And this year also another team member is Mr. Johan, who's sitting here right in front of me. Thank you. So he's the coordinator for learning support for maths and physics, and he coordinates all of that for us. And just on summary point in terms of the group sessions, so although there's been less sessions, there's been better attendance this year, and much more individual sessions.
Good afternoon. So I was seconded into the Faculty of Law on a 50% secondment for 2 years over the period of last year and this year, and I've been involved in the conceptualization and implementation of academic advising in the faculty. So through our conceptualization, we focused on 3 key areas with planned activities around pre-entering students that are transitioning towards university, first-year students who are transitioning into university, and then our senior students who are transitioning through university. So the remaining slides are just going to highlight some of the information that's related to our individual counselling or individual advising sessions, and then some of the activities that have been within each of those focus areas. So individual advising sessions have remained one of the kind of core focus areas of the academic advisor and one of my core functions in the faculty. To date, I've seen 149 students for a total of 241 sessions, contact sessions. That's over the course of last year and this year. Most notable, however, is the growth in numbers from 2018. So that was for the entire period of 2018 into just the first semester of 2019. These then just represent some of the main issues that have been presented in those sessions, and then below are just some of the other issues that have also been addressed through those sessions. In the individual sessions, I've made use of data and findings from some of the research projects that will be alluded to by Marian a little bit later on, and then I've also used data from our radar system, and that's helped at both an individual advising session, and then also for a little bit later on helping to identify students for our mentoring program. So work within the pre-entry focus area has focused on collaborative activities that are working towards assisting prospective students to understand the range of possible careers in the field of law and how their school results can link to making appropriate program choices within that field. We also collaborated last year with a public relations management student or intern to help improve our communication with our provisionally accepted students. And that culminated in putting together a newsletter that was sent out very early in the beginning of the year, and it had a lot of information around orientation and registration and just kind of connection points for the students coming in. And we found that was a gateway for some of those students to then connect to the advisor before their first classes even started. In terms of first year success, that has remained one of our core priorities as it is linked to the Theophilus project in particular. Academic advising has had a presence at orientation and at registration, and then obviously we've also offered face-to-face contact, individual contact sessions with students as they've needed it. In terms of registration, I focused mostly on the BA law students, just in terms of assisting with major choices in terms of modules and then credit load. That's the one program that has a fair amount of flexibility and where we find that students struggle to register on their own online sometimes. Then we've also, the main project has been around the implementation of our early alert program.
We've used data from radar to identify students in need of support, and then we've also used data from radar to encourage lecturers, first-year lecturers, to personally connect with students that have failed their first test. So often lecturers will, have a sort of synopsis of the test and how it went in class, but we've actually encouraged them now to, email students inviting them for a one-on-one contact session, and we've had quite a good response from students and from lecturers in that respect. To extend my reach, we've used a mentoring program, and we've connected first years that we've identified as potentially needing some further assistance with the peer mentoring program. We've branded it as Reach Up, and we make use of postgraduate law students to run those mentoring sessions. The program has grown from 7 mentors last year to 21 this year, which I think is an indication of the buy-in from the faculty management just around what we are doing there. We've also realized a growing need for support in terms of our senior students and helping them to transition through university, including our postgraduate students. And many of them have been supported through individual sessions with a particular focus on students who've received academic advising, academic warning or exclusion letters, and then also the students that were readmitted based on appeal. So those are students that we've sort of recognized as possibly being a little bit more at risk. And here my work is focused mostly on just helping students to reflect on their academic performance, identifying some barriers, and then we've worked quite a lot around helping them to develop educational plans for themselves, especially in terms of choosing, what modules to continue with in second or third year, which ones to possibly wait, and just helping them to manage their credit load in order to get them to completion. So also just a new collaborative project that popped up this year has been related to the increasing mental health concerns that we've noticed in the faculty, and the campaign aims to promote a culture of care, compassion and care and community within the faculty. As we work with student counselling, we work with academic staff, we're working with student organisations to proactively reach out to our students. So we've branded the campaign Reach Out, and we're doing this through mini class sessions of no more than 15 minutes in a class across all 4 years, first year to fourth year, also through some workshops, and then also just through raising staff awareness. So those are just some of the main activities that we've been involved with up until now.
Thank you, Siyaphumelela. Siyaphumelela funding has allowed us as a team to cross silos while staying in our lanes. We from institutional support, sorry? What? I missed it. Anyway. Excuse me, it's the end of the day. We're from institutional support and ICT, we involve students. We've got academic advisors, we've got student counselling, and I have really enjoyed this process of and being able to get to this moment where we can say to you that there have been 3 significant outcomes that have come from the funding allocated to this team. Student counselling has a database that we use to collect statistics on every session with every client, whether it's individually or group. And as a result of this funding, we've been able to clone that for use with academic advising. We've been able to, on the faculty dashboard, make available to the law faculty or the engineering faculty as the ones who are piloting this, the opportunity to click on a link, specify any time frame, and get a profile of how many of these students have been to student counselling and what are the issues that have been dealt with for that given period of time, which gives them a more holistic perspective on what's happening with the faculty in terms of their students. And then also, it's allowed us to take an online assessment measure that has been developed by student counselling and has been used for several years now, but now it's been integrated into Radar, where, as one of our students have said so enthusiastically, he can click on his student dashboard link to the LEC and self-assess and self-administer to see how he's doing. So just to give you a couple of views, because I don't have a lot of time, the advisors can go to what we call Ukubamba for student counselling, and we tentatively have a name for the advising database, which is Ujima. We're going to put it to the students and see how they feel about this and whether they have alternatives to it. But so as you can see, the advisors can go into one of 3 capture screens and capture, they can add clients to the system, they can capture individual sessions, they can capture group sessions. There can be a system administrator who maintains all of the variables for which data are collected. We can add variables to that. And here's where you can see we add clients. They can add a client where someone is new and has just presented for advising. And then there's a report screen which is accessible by the system administrator, where reports can be run at an aggregate level overall for faculty or for particular advisor for a particular period of time, and it can look at it in terms of the number of clients or the number of sessions, as well as any variable for which data has been collected. And similarly so for the group session data. Now, just going back to the LEC, you've seen a screenshot of the student dashboard, and I just wanted to point out with a green arrow where the link to the LEC checklist is, and also where the link to the student counselling website is, which is lovely because there are many resources which students can access themselves and start doing some of the work in terms of developing themselves further and contacting us when they need to. The LEC this is the first page of the LEC, where they can choose to include their student number or not. What's great about its inclusion on radar is where student counselling has only been able to report on a kind of clinical sample, again from students who've been referred to us. We can now speak more at an institutional level, the wider and more broader the access to students is in terms of the LEC. It covers a range of dimensions. I just wanted to show you the number of issues that came up in terms of career concerns for all of the students that have gone through the LEC this year to date. 44% their current choice was not their first choice, the current course. And there are some other issues that have come up. That's the kind of data that will come out of an LEC report. And from the faculty dashboard, this is where the faculty can now choose under report type. They can either choose a counselling report, which gives them data on actual counselling done by student counselling and the profile of that, of the reasons for referral issues dealt with, or they can get an LEC report over there, and hopefully they will also be able to get an advising report for their faculty from there for any given period of time. Okay, that's all from me.
Thank you, Dalray. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Right. 3 research studies were conducted in support of developing the predictive capabilities of radar. And those are the 3 that you can see on the screen. The first was in the Faculty of Law, the second in the Faculty of Business and Economic Sciences, and the third in the Health Sciences faculty. Findings from these 3 studies have been shared at the South African Association for Institutional Research and at the Siyaphumelela Conference both last year and this year. What those 3 studies reveal is that predictive models can be useful in identifying students in need of support from various demographic, school, and higher education academic information. Whilst radar already assists lecturers to monitor students' performance from their first assessments, the predictive capability in the system must allow earlier identification of first-year students before the first assessment in order to permit sufficient time to refer students to existing support or to design and implement appropriate tailored support. The descriptive and pathway analyses in the study with the Faculty of Law students highlighted some important transition points, like first to second semester for all students, and the transition into mainstream for LLB extended students in their 3rd year at the university. This is where it's important for the institution to intervene more proactively. It also showed how students have stopped out multiple times or even transferred out of the faculty and then back, It has thus painted a much more complex picture of the students' experience and their pathways of study and of stop-out and drop-out. We need to optimize the time and resources spent by both the students and the institution, and this highlights the importance of ongoing monitoring and tracking of students beyond the first year. The health sciences study highlighted the importance of students' personal attributes and also the role of lecturers in enabling student success. And Prof. Annelie Gresser has just presented prior to this session and shared many of the interesting findings from her study. Further research and any predictive models incorporated into radar should thus explore the inclusion of non-cognitive variables such as self-esteem, motivation, and perseverance, and identify indicators for lecturers as well as any other non-academic indicators. Some of these aspects, such as the learning management system data, could also be built into predictive models for second semester or second or third year or key identified transition points. We have thus made a number of recommendations for Nelson Mandela University to utilize the bonus grant funds, should we receive them, to incorporate the predictive analytics into the radar system.
Just to conclude, we're basically happy that we've achieved the goals and objectives for our bonus project. It was successfully rolled out. We are now going to roll out radar throughout the whole university. It will be placed in the Learning and Teaching Collaborative for Success, the new unit that are going to be established as part of the organizational restructuring. And in the second semester, all lecturers teaching high-risk modules will get access, and specific high-risk modules will be identified, and a multidisciplinary team of success coaches, peer learning facilitator drivers, and teaching developers will work with the staff and students in these modules. What we know is we will have to make sure that marks are captured very, very early on ITS, otherwise radar will not be able to work. And then, as I say, the university also, we found that the academic advising piloting was a huge success, and the university plans to roll it out to all faculties in future. And just on a last note, interestingly, when I did an analysis of the retention of first-time entering students from 2017 to 2018 and 2018 to 2019, it went down in all the faculties except in the faculty of law, where it increased from 84% to 91%, and in the faculty of engineering, where it increased from 84 to 86%. And those were the two faculties where academic advising was implemented. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Team NMU. We don't have too many times for questions because Jenny is looking at me and she needs to get the next show on the road.